The deception. The morning sun painted Haven's Rest in shades of gold and amber as Dr. Elena Vasquez stepped out of her modest dwelling and breathed in the crisp air of the colony's third year. The settlement stretched before her like a picture from an old Earth postcard, with neat rows of prefabricated homes surrounding the central plaza, children playing in the gardens, and the steady hum of agricultural machinery in the distance. To any observer, Haven's Rest appeared exactly as intended, a simple farming and mining colony on the outer rim of human space, populated by families seeking a peaceful life among the stars. Elena smiled as she watched Marcus Chen emerge from the mining office, his weathered face already showing the day's first layer of dust. The former geological survey specialist had become the colony's unofficial mining supervisor, though his credentials suggested nothing more than basic resource extraction knowledge. He waved to her across the plaza, his calloused hands betraying years of honest labor in the asteroid fields before settling on Haven's Rest. "Another beautiful day in paradise," Marcus called out, his voice carrying the easy humor of someone content with simple pleasures. Behind him, other colonists were beginning their morning routines. Sarah Kim tended to her vegetable gardens while her husband David prepared the harvesting equipment. Their teenage son Alex helped load supply containers, his young muscles already adapted to the planet's slightly heavier gravity. The colony's success had been modest but steady. Their agricultural yields exceeded expectations, providing surplus food for trade with passing merchant vessels. The mining operations had uncovered valuable mineral deposits that, while not spectacular, generated enough income to make Haven's Rest economically viable. Most importantly, the 847 colonists had built something precious in the vast emptiness of space. A community where children could grow up safely, where families could thrive, and where the dream of human expansion could take root in fertile soil. What none of the casual observers knew was that Haven's Rest had been watched for the past 6 months. High above the colony, beyond the range of their basic sensor arrays, a HFY reconnaissance vessel maintained its silent vigil. The ship's advanced cloaking technology rendered it invisible to human detection systems, allowing its crew to catalog every detail of the settlement below. Commander Zethak studied the holographic displays with the patience of a predator, his reptilian features reflecting the cold calculation that had made the Kethvar Empire a dominant force in this sector of the galaxy. "Status report," he hissed, his voice modulated through the translation device that allowed communication with his mixed-species crew. Lieutenant Vexhun, an insectoid warrior from the Kethvar client species, manipulated the sensor controls with 4 of his 6 arms. Colony population remained stable at 847 individuals. No military installations detected. No defensive emplacements visible. Their largest vessels are civilian cargo haulers designed for agricultural transport. Zethak's tail twitched with satisfaction. The humans continued to prove their weakness through their expansion strategy. They scattered across the galaxy like seeds on the wind, establishing vulnerable settlements with minimal protection, relying on distance and obscurity for security. It was a strategy that had worked well for them in the inner systems where human military presence was strong, but here on the frontier such colonies were like ripe fruit waiting to be plucked. "Energy signatures?" the commander inquired. "Standard civilian power grid. Solar collectors and fusion reactors consistent with agricultural and light industrial use. No military-grade power systems detected. No weapon signatures above small, arms level." The tactical analysis was comprehensive and damning. Haven's Rest possessed everything the Kethvar needed and nothing they feared. The colony's mineral wealth would fuel their war machine, their agricultural capacity would feed their armies, and their population would provide valuable intelligence about human expansion patterns. Best of all, the settlement was isolated enough that its destruction would go unnoticed for weeks, giving the Kethvar time to strip it clean before any human reinforcements could arrive. "Excellent," Zethak murmured, activating his communication array. The encrypted transmission would take 3 days to reach Kethvar High Command, but the response was predictable. The Empire had been probing human defenses for months, testing their reaction times and military capabilities. So far, the humans had proven disappointingly weak, responding slowly and with insufficient force to protect their scattered settlements. Down on Haven's Rest, life continued its peaceful rhythm. Elena completed her morning inspection of the colony's infrastructure, noting the steady progress of expansion projects. The new residential sector was nearly complete, ready to house the next wave of colonists scheduled to arrive in 6 months. The agricultural dome extensions were producing bumper crops of modified wheat that thrived in the local soil conditions. Even the mining operation was exceeding quotas, with Marcus's teams extracting rare earth elements that would be valuable in trade negotiations. As she walked through the colony, Elena exchanged greetings with dozens of residents. There was Dr. Peterson, the colony's medical officer, who had left a prestigious position on Mars to practice frontier medicine. Maria Santos worked in the communications center, maintaining contact with other human settlements and coordinating supply shipments. Tom Bradley managed the fusion reactors that powered the settlement, his expertise gained from a decade of service on orbital platforms. Each colonist had their story, their reason for leaving the safety of the inner systems for the uncertainty of the frontier. Some sought adventure, others fled from past mistakes, and many simply wanted the freedom that came with building something new. They had all accepted the risks that came with colonial life: equipment failures, natural disasters, and the ever-present possibility of first contact with hostile alien species. What they didn't know was that first contact was about to find them. 3 days after Zethak's transmission, the response arrived from Kethvar High Command. The message was brief and decisive. Operation Windfall approved, strip the colony, leave no witnesses, execute immediately. The Kethvar strike force consisted of 12 ships, 8 fast attack vessels, 3 heavy transports for cargo, and 1 command cruiser. They had performed this operation dozens of times against isolated settlements throughout the sector. The strategy was always the same: arrive without warning, overwhelm any resistance with superior firepower, extract valuable resources and intelligence, then disappear before reinforcements could respond. Commander Zethak reviewed the final intelligence, reports as his fleet prepared to drop out of hyperspace. Haven's Rest remained exactly as they had observed: a peaceful agricultural colony with no military presence, no hidden defenses, and no reason to suspect the approaching doom. The humans' greatest weakness was their naive belief that the galaxy would leave them in peace if they presented no threat. All ships prepare for combat insertion, Zethak commanded. Remember, we want the infrastructure intact and the population alive for interrogation. Use precision strikes only. This should be over within 2 hours. The Kethvar fleet materialized in Haven's Rest's star system, like a pack of hungry wolves descending on unsuspecting sheep. Their ships were sleek and predatory, designed for quick strikes and faster escapes. Advanced engines allowed them to cross the system in minutes rather than hours, giving their targets no time to organize resistance or call for help. On Haven's Rest, the morning routine continued undisturbed. Elena was reviewing production reports in her office when the colony's basic sensor array detected the incoming ships. The alarm was automatic and immediate, but not panicked. Unidentified ships were not uncommon in frontier space, and protocols existed for dealing with unexpected visitors. "Attention Haven's Rest," Elena announced over the colony-wide communication system. "We have multiple unidentified vessels approaching our system. All residents please report to designated safety areas while we establish communication with the newcomers." The colonists responded with the practiced efficiency of people who had drilled for this scenario many times. Children were ushered indoors while adults secured equipment and prepared for potential emergency evacuation. It was a routine they had hoped never to use, but frontier life demanded such precautions. Marcus Chen was securing the mining equipment when he noticed something odd about the approaching ship's trajectory. After years of watching cargo vessels and survey ships approach Haven's Rest, he had developed an instinct for normal versus threatening behavior. These ships were moving too fast and in too aggressive a formation for peaceful contact. "Elena," he called over his communicator, "these ships aren't following standard approach protocols. They're coming in hot and heavy." Before Elena could respond, the first Kethvar attack run began. Purple energy beams lanced down from orbit, targeting what the aliens assumed were the colony's most important structures. The main agricultural processing center erupted in flames as concentrated plasma fire melted through its metal walls. Storage facilities collapsed under the bombardment, spilling grain across the burning ground. But instead of the panic and chaos the Kethvar expected, something extraordinary happened. Hidden panels slid open across Haven's Rest, revealing defensive turrets that immediately locked onto the attacking ships. Underground bunkers opened like mechanical flowers, disgorging armed colonists who moved with military precision toward predetermined defensive positions. Elena's voice cut through the battle noise with calm authority. All units, Defensive Protocol 7 is now in effect. Repeat, we are implementing Defensive Protocol 7. This is not a drill. The simple farming colony had just revealed its true nature, and the Kethvar were about to learn that humanity's expansion strategy was far more sophisticated than they had ever imagined. The awakening, the transformation of Haven's Rest from peaceful colony to fortress, happened with startling speed. What had appeared to be simple agricultural equipment revealed hidden weapon systems. Irrigation pipes doubled as conduits for military-grade power cables. The modest community center's roof retracted to expose a sophisticated communications array that immediately began broadcasting on military frequencies. Marcus Chen dropped his mining tools and pulled a plasma rifle from a concealed compartment in his equipment shed. The weapon hummed to life in his hands as years of muscle memory returned. Around him, other miners emerged from their positions carrying military hardware that had been carefully hidden throughout the settlement. Their movements were coordinated and professional, the actions of people who had trained for this moment many times. Squad leaders, report status, Elena commanded from the colony's communications center, which had suddenly sprouted multiple tactical displays and military-grade sensor arrays. The modest administrator's desk transformed into a combat command station that would not have looked out of place on a military starship. Mining sector secure, Marcus reported, his voice steady despite the energy beams still raining down from orbit. All heavy equipment protected, defensive positions manned. Agricultural sector reporting ready, came Sarah Kim's voice. The gentle farmer had become a tactical coordinator, directing colonists to positions that offered maximum defensive coverage. Automated systems online, civilian population secured in hardened shelters. Dr. Peterson's voice crackled over the comm system from the medical center. Emergency protocols active, trauma teams standing by. All critical personnel are protected. Above them, Commander Zethak watched his tactical displays with growing alarm. His ground assault teams had landed expecting to find panicked farmers running in all directions. Instead, they encountered disciplined resistance from defensive positions that hadn't existed in any of their intelligence reports. Energy weapon signatures appeared throughout the settlement as the humans revealed military-grade equipment that should not have existed on a simple agricultural colony. How is this possible? Zethak snarled at his intelligence officer. Our scans showed no military presence. These are supposed to be civilian farmers and miners. His subordinate studied the incoming data streams with obvious confusion. Sir, their weapon signatures match standard human military equipment. These colonists are fighting like trained soldiers, not civilians. And sir, there's something else. We're detecting massive power signatures from underground. The colony is much larger than our surface scans indicated. Below the surface of Haven's Rest, concealed facilities were coming online for the first time since the colony's establishment. Massive fusion reactors that had been carefully hidden beneath the settlement's foundation began powering defensive systems that transformed the peaceful farming community into a fortress. Automated turrets emerged from camouflaged positions, their targeting systems already locked onto the Kethvar assault ships circling overhead. Elena activated the colony's most important system, the quantum communication array hidden beneath the innocuous-looking solar farm. The transmission burst outward at faster-than-light speed, carrying a coded message that would change everything. The signal reached its destination in minutes rather than days, arriving simultaneously at military command centers across human space. Admiral Catherine Ross was reviewing fleet deployment reports aboard the battleship Indomitable, when her communications officer burst into the command center. The young lieutenant's face was pale as she handed over the decoded message, her voice tight with urgency. "Admiral, we have a Colony 7 emergency from Haven's Rest. Kethavar attack confirmed. They're requesting immediate military assistance under Protocol 7. Colony 7 was the highest level of distress call in human space, reserved for situations where strategic assets faced imminent capture or destruction. But Protocol 7 was something else entirely. It meant that one of humanity's most carefully guarded secrets had been exposed. Admiral Ross had helped design Haven's Rest 3 years ago, along with dozens of similar agricultural colonies throughout the frontier. What appeared to be simple farming communities were actually strategic monitoring posts, equipped with sophisticated sensor arrays, hidden weapons, and garrison forces disguised as civilian settlers. They served as humanity's early warning system against alien incursion, while maintaining the illusion that human expansion was peaceful and vulnerable. "All ships, emergency departure," Admiral Ross commanded. "Set course for Haven's Rest. Maximum hyperspace velocity. Signal Sector Command. We are implementing Protocol 7 response. Authorization Omega-77." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across human space, military commanders activated emergency protocols that revealed the true scope of humanity's expansion strategy. What alien powers had assumed were scattered, vulnerable farming colonies were actually nodes in a vast defensive network, each one capable of calling upon massive military support within hours rather than days. Captain Jiang Wei received the alert while his destroyer squadron conducted routine patrols near the Vega system. Without hesitation, his 3 ships changed course, their hyperspace engines charging for the long jump to Haven's Rest. Behind him, the massive shipyards of New Shanghai began launching every available vessel. Converted cargo ships loaded with Marines, patrol boats armed with the latest weapons, and heavy cruisers that had been in reserve status just minutes before. The Kethavar had made a fatal error in their understanding of human expansion. What they saw as weakness was actually sophisticated misdirection. Every colonial settlement served multiple purposes, with settlers trained not just as farmers and workers, but as the first line of defense for human civilization. Back on Haven's Rest, the battle intensified as more Kethavar reinforcements landed, while the human defenders revealed additional surprises. Tom Bradley, the quiet fusion technician, activated the settlement's hidden power grid. Energy levels spiked throughout the colony as defensive systems that had been dormant for 3 years came online with devastating effect. "Brace yourselves," Elena announced over the comm system. "Full defensive protocols are now active." The peaceful farming terraces retracted to reveal missile launchers. The modest community gardens concealed anti-aircraft batteries. Even the children's playground had been built over a sophisticated sensor array that now guided precision strikes against Kethavar ground forces. Commander Zethak watched his assault teams take casualties they had never expected. His tactical display showed human weapon signatures matching military specifications throughout the settlement. Ground forces reported facing organized resistance from positions that hadn't existed in their intelligence maps. Worst of all, his communication. Interceptors had detected the quantum transmission. That meant human reinforcements were already on their way. "Sir," his communications officer reported with barely controlled panic, "we're detecting massive hyperspace signatures throughout the system. Multiple human fleets are approaching from different vectors. Estimated arrival time, 47 minutes. Zethak felt the cold touch of genuine fear. The humans had turned his carefully planned raid into a trap. The defenseless farming colony was revealing itself as a sophisticated military installation, and the isolated settlement he had chosen, for its vulnerability, was about to become the center of the largest naval battle this sector had seen in decades. "All ships emergency extraction," he commanded. "Abort ground operations, we leave now." But it was already too late. The first human ships began dropping out of hyperspace like avenging angels, their weapon systems hot and ready for combat. Admiral Ross's task force materialized at the edge of the system with overwhelming firepower. 12 battleships, 36 destroyers, and support vessels carrying enough Marines to capture a small planet. Unknown vessels, Admiral Ross's voice cut across all communication frequencies. You are engaged in hostile action against a human settlement. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Commander Zethak had seconds to make a decision that would determine not just his own fate, but potentially the future relationship between the Kethvar Empire and humanity. His intelligence had been completely wrong. The humans weren't weak or scattered. They were patient, clever, and far more dangerous than anyone in the Empire had realized. More human ships continued arriving with each passing minute. Captain, Zhang's destroyers took up flanking positions while the new Shanghai fleet provided fire support. The isolated farming colony had become the focal point for a massive human military response that demonstrated capabilities the galaxy had never suspected. As Elena watched the alien ships retreat under the overwhelming firepower of humanity's response, she knew that Haven's Rest had served its true purpose. The colony had been designed to look vulnerable while actually serving as bait, drawing potential threats into revealing themselves so that humanity could respond with decisive force. The Kethvar Empire would return to their territory with a new understanding of human capabilities. Word would spread throughout the galaxy that humanity's expansion was not the work of scattered, defenseless settlers, but part of a sophisticated strategy backed by military power that could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. Haven's Rest had awakened something in the galaxy's understanding of humanity, and the reverberations would be felt across countless star systems. The age of humanity as a minor, vulnerable species was over. The galaxy was about to discover what humans were truly capable of when their families and communities were threatened. The simple farming colony had revealed itself as humanity's declaration that they would never again be the galaxy's victims.